Today we have our monitor is this is Jackson Lewis, and he comes from Canyon's school district. He's on their board. We got neutral people to come and be the monitors. And I will turn the time over to him.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Jackson Lewis, and I'm on the Canyon School Board. I want to thank the PTA for hosting this event. We have two goals for this evening. Voters get to know your candidates, their skills, ideas, and visions, and voters better understand the role of a school board member and what they can and can't do. The four primary responsibilities of school district board members are to 1, advocate for their constituents, residents, teachers, and students. 2, provide budget, oversight, and input. 3, approve policies, expectations, fairness, operations, safety, and law compliance. 4, hire the district superintendent and business administrator. The superintendent is the CEO of the school district, responsible for the overall leadership, management, and vision of the district's educational programs and operations. They work with the school board to develop and implement policies, manage budgets, and ensure compliance with educational standards and regulations. The business administrator manages the financial, operational, and administrative aspects of a school or school district. They oversee budgets, payroll, purchasing, and facilities management, ensuring the schools run efficiently and effectively. Thank you to the candidates for being willing to create a new school district. Let's get to know them. Each candidate will have 1 minute to introduce themselves, 1 minute and 15 seconds to answer the questions, and 2 minutes to summarize. And we have Janice Aiden as our timer. Due to time limits, we may not be able to address every question, but candidates will be available afterward. Let's go to our first question, and it will be for Amber. Oh yes, excuse me, let's do it. Candidate introductions first.
Because I drew a card and I was card 1, so yay. Okay, so I thought we had 150 words, not...
You're fine.
Okay,
Do your introduction.
we'll see how it goes. Okay,
Just do your introduction.
all right. So they had us turn in our introduction beforehand, and it was in third person, so if I use third person, just know it's because I put it in. So I'm a Utah County native. I graduated from Pleasant Grove High School and BYU. I am the proud wife of Dave Bonner. We have 7 children. They've all attended schools in the Lone Peak area. 6 of them have graduated, including one that just graduated in May. I've volunteered in our community for more than 20 years. We moved into Cedar Hills in 2001. We've lived here since. I've been involved at the individual school level. I've served both as school community council member and chair at elementary, junior high, and high school level. I represented the whole Lone Peak area as our board member for a term that ended 2 years ago. And then I've also volunteered at the state level. I've served on several committees with the State Board of Education. I'm proficient in both educational law in Utah, current district policy, and also with educational finance here in Utah. I have ongoing relationships with current board members, also many of the candidates who are running, and many of the elected officials in the area also. So this expertise makes me uniquely qualified to guide the establishment of our new school district. It will be a challenging process, but there's a lot of exciting possibilities for our students and our community and our teachers. Thanks.
Perfect.
All right, next it will be Nicole.
I'm a little worried because the screen's not on. Maybe I'll try here. Let me try the HDMI, sorry.
Let me run go get her. Can we go to Wendy? Are you all
That's
okay
fine.
with that?
Yeah, if you're okay.
Hey, I'm Wendi Jensen. Aaron Jensen is my husband. He's sitting up here. I have 5 children. I have 3 daughters and 2 sons. I'll have a senior at Lone Peak. This next year, I'll have a 9th grader and a 7th grader here at Mountain Ridge, and a 4th grader and a 2nd grader at Cedar Ridge. I used to teach middle school in Las Vegas in Clark County School District. I taught for a few years before I became a stay-at-home mom. I helped to start a group of charter schools in Las Vegas. And was on the inaugural governing board for that charter school. I also served on the charter school at my kids' charter school in Colorado, where I served as vice president and secretary and oversaw our school administrator and worked on policy. For that, we've lived here in Cedar Hills, not here, but in Cedar Hills, for 6 years. I've served on the Cedar Ridge PTA board for the past 3 years and the Mountain Ridge PTSA board for the past 2 years. I also have run the Battle of the Books program at Cedar Ridge for the past 3 years, and I've been involved with the student club and the service club here at Mountain Ridge for the past couple of years.
Sorry, went to sleep.
Or at least we're not 40 teenagers.
I might be more comfortable with that, not gonna lie.
Oh, okay, perfect. And I am not Nicole Gearing, I am her friend representing her. She's on a trip with her family and couldn't make it, but here is her intro. Hopefully all will work.
I'm Nicole Gearing. I'm an educator, researcher, and a parent. My career began 20 years ago as an elementary school teacher. I then decided to teach special education in elementary school. Then I went to Georgia State University and earned my PhD in early childhood and elementary education. I'm now an associate professor at Utah Valley University, where I prepare future teachers. I'm also a resident of Draper and a proud mom of 2 wonderful young children. I'm running for the school board to advocate for evidence-based policies that prioritize all students, support educators and staff, promote transparency, and uphold educational excellence for all. I value respectful dialogue, open-mindedness, and collaboration, and I'm committed to thoughtfully listening and finding common ground with families, educators, and community members to strengthen our schools and meet the diverse needs of our students. My passion for education drives both my work professionally and within the community. I'm sorry that I could not be there today. I'm on a trip with my family, but my dear colleague Andrea is going to step in for me. Thanks.
All right, we have our first question. It will be for Amber. How will you ensure that the voices of all constituents, including students, parents, and teachers, and community members, are heard and considered in board decisions?
Okay, this is something that was actually really, really important to me as a board member. When I was serving on the board, I went really far out of my way to talk to the community. I have really active social media accounts. I have about 1,500 people on my Facebook account, and I would regularly update what we were doing at board meeting, what decisions we were making, and would solicit input from the community. I also was the only board member who was actively going to their city council meetings so that I could interact with the city councils and find out, which I had 4 of at the time, so I could know what was going on with them. Another thing that I think is really important for board members is to be present. There aren't a lot of required meetings as a board member. There's really just the 2 board meetings a month and a couple of others. But I am known for going to all the things at the high schools and the junior highs and even at the elementary schools. I try really hard to get to PTA and SCC meetings as often as possible. And the biggest thing is the district would send out surveys pretty regularly, but we would get hundreds and hundreds of pages of responses back sometimes. And I'm one of only a couple of board members who would make sure to read every single page, every single comment.
Thank you, Amber. Thank you so much. All right, I'm going to briefly restate the question, and it will be for Nicole. How will you ensure that the voices of all constituents, including students, parents, teachers, and community members, are heard and considered in board decisions?
How will I make sure that all constituents' voices are heard in board decisions? If there's one thing that I've learned in my 20 years of education is that people want to be heard. And when they are telling you something, they want for you to listen and learn and then make decisions. I think that Alpine does a really great job of public comment and allowing people in the district to come and share their thoughts during that open public comment time at school board meetings. I also think that that might not be very well rounded in who we are hearing from. One of my ideas or strategies would be to create some subcommittees and have them review policies or give feedback or provide ideas and strategies that we had maybe not thought of, or that leadership within the district had maybe not thought of. Now, committees should be made up of all constituents, students, parents, teachers, administrators, and community members and business leaders, stakeholders, so that we have a well-rounded representation of opinions, and all voices are heard before decisions are made.
Thank you so much. Wendy, would you like me to restate the question?
No, that's okay.
All right.
So, if I get elected to the school board, I intend to meet with the administrators in my area on a regular basis. How often will depend on the administrator and what they feel like is necessary. I'll also attend some SCC and PTA meetings at each school every year. Every school year. I also intend to post regularly to my Facebook and Instagram page about school board meetings and hot topics and things people are asking me a lot of questions about. I'll also respond quickly to emails and phone calls that I receive from my constituents. I also like how Stacey Bateman has community meetings every few months where she gives information to her constituents, and I would do something similar, especially about the district split, and then also about any things that people are asking me a lot of questions about, so I can spread that, just kind of give information to the community all at once.
Awesome, thank you, Wendy. All right, our next question, we're gonna start with Nicole. What principles will guide your decision-making when evaluating and approving the district's budget?
What principles will guide my decision-making when evaluating and approving the budget? This seems a little bit silly, but the thing that comes to mind is earlier in my career when I served on the course fee committee. The committee approves additional fees that student paid for certain courses, for things that are like specialized labs, access to software, or specialized exams they need to take for their program. One of the things that the committee members are asked to do when approving these fees is to make sure that it's necessary for the course and student learning, and that the student would directly benefit from the product or service the fee was paying for. I put great care into approving these, as college is expensive, and I wanted to make sure that I was being responsible with students' money. When approving expenses and budgets for the district, I will always ask myself, is this fiscally responsible? Does it directly benefit our students and employees? Does it put students first, or is there a better way that we could spend our funds to do so?
Thank you, Nicole. This question will next go to Wendy. Would you like me to restate the question?
Yeah.
All right. What principles will guide your decision-making when evaluating and approving the district's budget?
So I have 3 principles that would guide me in related to the budget. The first is what's best for students, what's best for teachers, and then what's best for taxpayers. So first, for students, I think it's important to try to meet the needs of all students, but there's also some students that need more support than other students, like students on IEPs, 504 plans, English language learners. They need more support and resources from the district than a regular ed student. And so I would make sure that they are getting the resources and things that they need for those students. I'd also support those programs that are already in place and help strengthen them, like the ALL programs at the schools, the DLI programs, and also the great programs that we have at our high schools with the great AP classes, the concurrent enrollment classes, the partnership with UVU, and then also the great vocational training that we partner with MTech for right now at ASD. Then also for teachers, I think it's really important to keep teacher salaries at least where Alpine School District has them, and make sure they have good benefits and they have the resources and things that they need to teach in the classroom. And also that we need to pay paras and aides better, because they're great supports to teacher in the classroom, and we need to try to retain them.
Thank you, Wendy. Unfortunately, our time is up.
Okay.
All right, and lastly for Amber, would you like me to restate the question? Okay.
Okay, so I am lucky enough to have served on the budget committee for Alpine District the whole 4 years that I was serving as a board member. And budget is really hard. One of the tricky things about the dollars that the district receives is they come from 41 different revenue streams. And nearly all of those are restricted to very specific uses. So you can't take transportation funds and use, even if you don't need transportation funds, and use it to buy books or something like that. And so that creates some really interesting situations in the budget. One of my guiding principles for budgeting is I honestly believe that the funds that are gathered from taxpayers are sacred funds. Those funds have been given by taxpayers to the school district to benefit our children. There's no more important usage than that, than to benefit our kids. So I always prioritize the needs of students and teachers first. Also, I'm going to be very careful to follow the law. The law changes very regularly, pretty much every year. I'm very familiar with legislative changes and everything that's been going on with that. And also, I'm going to ask a lot of questions.
Thank you, Amber. All right, our next question, we will start with Wendi. Question is, how do you approach changes in school policy?
So I would approach changes in school policy based on what I'm hearing from my constituents and what I'm seeing when I'm present in the schools. So if I'm hearing a lot from administrators or from teachers or from parents or from community members about different topics, then that's something that I may be like, okay, we may need to reevaluate this policy. When I served on the governing board at my kids' charter school in Colorado, I helped write policy for our governing board. We look at what other districts were doing around us. We take that policy and then adapt it for our needs. And there's a lot of great districts around us like Canyons, and that we can look at their policies, see what changes we need to make and adapt them for us. So we kind of take the approach of look at what the stakeholders are saying, look at what I'm seeing in the schools, work with the other school board members to adopt policies that will work well for us.
Awesome, thank you. Next, we will ask the same question of Nicole.
What steps would I take to gather input from stakeholders when approving major policy changes? Many of the policy changes that are made in a district are made to adhere to changes at the state or federal level, like the ban on personal devices that was passed in the legislature this spring. The passage of this bill required school districts to update the policy pretty quickly, and they did a great job of getting input from the community. I think that something that we could do frequently is ask school community councils to discuss policies and provide feedback on drafts before they come up at a school board meeting for public comment. Another thing that we could do is provide parents and stakeholders with a survey to complete asking for feedback on policies when it's appropriate. They should also be, a group that's frequently missed are community members. And so we need to make sure that we are putting this out not just through the school and to parents, but also through social media and newsletters and newspapers in our community.
Awesome, thank you. Next, and finally, we will ask the same question of Amber. Would you like me to repeat the question?
Okay, policy is actually one of those things that the board is legally responsible for. Sometimes people don't understand what things the board actually is legally responsible for and what things they aren't. I would say there are three main reasons for reviewing and changing a policy. One would be that pretty much every year we see legal changes in code that have to be addressed in our different policies for various reasons. So that's one big reason. A second one is some of our policies are really old. Like I slept on the policy, I wasn't on the policy committee, but I slept a couple of times, and we were sometimes looking at policies that were 20 years old. And we thought, well, let's at least look at it. I mean, it might be fine, but it might not be. The last one would be if I hear of any concerns from employees or patrons or students that a policy is not meeting the needs of the students or the teachers at the school. And in all of those cases, I think it's important to gather feedback from the community, both the employees and teachers, and also students and parents, and see what we're looking for and trying to do. And then as we look at those and review them and make changes.
Thank you, Amber. This next question will also go to Amber. It is, what qualities and expertise do you believe are most important in a superintendent for our new district?
Okay, this is actually something that I think is going to be one of the biggest things we need to elect our school board to do. And I'm really grateful that I actually participated in multiple superintendent hiring committees. When I was a board member, we hired Dr. Farnsworth, who just retired, and before I was a board member, I also participated in the parent review committees for 2 different superintendents. I think that superintendents are hired on a 2-year contract, and the board hires them and then reevaluates them and decides if they're going to extend them a second contract at the end of the 2 years. So things I think I would be looking for are someone who's an educational leader, someone who has a vision for what they think we can do to improve educational outcomes in our district, someone who's a bridge builder. We're going to have a lot of negotiating to do between the various groups involved. Someone who's calm and thoughtful and also knowledgeable. I think then as a board member, once you have this great superintendent, you have to be constantly evaluating how you think they're doing, what they're doing, if they learn from mistakes, if they do better, all of those kinds of things. I'm hopeful that we can do focus groups and a lot of other community input before we hire someone.
Thank you so much, Amber. Next, the same question will go to Wendi. Would you like me to repeat it?
No.
Okay.
So I've spoken with all the administrators in my area and also with David Doty last week, who is the superintendent at Canyons, when Jordan and Canyon split. And he gave us some great thoughts about superintendents. And also I got some great thoughts from administrators that I spoke with. So one of the biggest things I think that a new superintendent needs is vision, great vision, and a plan for 1 year, 5-year, 10-year plan of how to implement that vision. I also think it's so important to have a unifier, like Amber talked about, a bridge builder, somebody who can unify the district, because I know there's different opinions about the split, and it's really important for a superintendent to be a unifier for our community. Also someone with great leadership skills, great communicator, great listener, great collaborator, and someone who also can be flexible and work with different administrators, respect the autonomy of the administrator, and their schools recognize that all schools are different and have different needs, and when implementing new policies and visions, that they're gonna have different challenges doing so and be respectful of those changes. I think that is my list, so that's all.
All right, thank you, Wendi. And finally, for Nicole.
What qualities and experiences do I believe are important in a new superintendent? Our superintendent decision is going to be huge because it will shape the future of our brand new school district for years to come. It'll be really important to get opinions from stakeholders in our school district. But what I'll be looking for is someone who definitely has a good bit of experience already. Someone who's innovative and willing to take on challenges. Someone who will lead with transparency and make sure that decisions are justified and explained to constituents. And somebody who can make a mistake and recognize it and say, you know what, this didn't go the way we intended, let's fix it.
Awesome, thank you, Nicole. Our next question will be, what do you see as the top 3 priorities for our district in its first year? And this will go to Wendi.
So the top priorities that I would have, I have 4, hopefully I don't get fired for that. So my top priorities would be student achievement, teacher retention, collaboration, and then taxpayer transparency with the budget, use the taxpayer funds well. I think it's really important to focus on student achievement, especially with all the changes that will happen with the district. Like I talked about before, making sure those that are special ed students, English language learners, 504 plans, that they're getting the support they need, while also maintaining the great programs that we already have in our schools and maintaining those. And then teacher retention. I think it's so important to keep the teachers who are close to retiring, because there's so many that I just heard lots of chatter about people who are going to try to retire early, just to not have to go through the change. But they're so important to keep those teachers, because they're the ones who refine their instructional techniques, and they are able to just be such great educators to the students and also mentors to new teachers. So I want to focus on that. Then also collaborating across the new districts is really important, and amongst school board members, all 3 districts, and amongst our own district, it will be really important. And then using our assets well.
Thank you, Wendy. Thank you so much. All right, next we will go to Nicole.
What are my top 3 priorities for our new district? My first priority is putting students first. It's been my priority for 20 years, and it will continue to be for at least the next 20. Our students should always be at the center of every decision we make. They are the reason we're here. That means making sure that all students, no matter their background, have access to great teachers and programs that support their needs and help them succeed. They should feel valued, challenged, and want to come to school every day. Great schools start with great teachers. That's my second priority. We need to make sure that teachers feel respected, heard, and supported. That includes having high quality curriculum and the materials that go with them. It means great professional development and that they have a real voice in making decisions that affect their classroom. My third priority is the community and listening and learning and then leading. Trust is built through open and honest communication, and we need to make sure that everyone feels heard.
Thank you, Nicole. And finally, for Amber, would you like me to repeat the question? Awesome.
Okay, so my actual first top priority is to do some really deep information dives about what's happening in our area. I want to know what the community thinks. I want to know what teachers think. I want to know what students think. I want to know what our data shows. We don't actually know right now financially where we're going to be at, or how many kids we're going to have, or how many teachers we have. We need to look at all of that very first before we look at anything else. We need to know, where does the community want this new district to go? And those are the very first questions that I want to have answered. And then, as I move on in making decisions and in hiring a superintendent, all of those things, we always have to prioritize the needs of our students. The whole purpose of this organization is to meet the needs of our students. And to me, one of the best ways we can do that is by making sure that we retain and keep the very best educators for them. That means we've got to make sure that we have the right administrators in the right spots. We have the right teachers who have the support that they need. As I talk to teachers, a lot of them actually are happy with their salary, but one of the things that is hard for them is the support that they need. They're seeing a lot of behavioral issues and things like that too.
Thank you, Amber. All right, the 6th question is, what unique skills or experiences do you bring that will benefit our new district? And first, we will start with Nicole.
I bring a unique blend of classroom experience, special education expertise, and experience in higher education preparing the future generation of teachers in our area. This broad perspective gives me deep insight into how schools function, how students learn, and what policies support student success. Which ones really make a difference? I'm also committed to public education and to listening, learning, and leading through collaboration. My colleagues always call me the problem solver because anytime a problem arises, I listen and then I figure it out and try to make it so that everyone has their needs met and a solution that works for everyone. I believe in working alongside teachers and community members and families in the same way to ensure that every decision we make puts students first.
Thank you. Wendi, next. Would you like me to repeat the question?
Yeah, can you repeat it?
Of course. What unique skills or experiences do you bring that will benefit our new district?
So I also have a background as an educator, having taught middle school. I also have a background in charter schools as well. And I know that there's competition between the neighborhood schools and charter schools, so I have that perspective that I can bring. I also, by serving on the governing board, I also have the experience of working on a board and making group decisions. I also work well with other people. I am good at listening to other people and seeing things from their perspective, working well as a group. And just, I'm actually really good at collaborating, looking for opportunities to reach out to those who may not, we might not have common ground, it seems like at first, but then getting to know them and finding common ground so that we can work together. And I think that's really important for the new district.
30 more seconds.
All right. Finally, on to Amber. Would you like me to repeat the question?
So I think I bring something really unique in this position right now. In our whole brand new district, we have 7 seats that we'll be filling, and only 2 of those seats have the option of voting for someone who's actually served on a school board in our area before. So I'm one of those candidates, and I'm the only one who's hired a superintendent before. And so I feel like that brings some really unique experience that isn't going to be available to any of our other school board members. I have a long history of being supportive and working in the schools in our area. My oldest started in elementary school in 2005, and I have been a weekly or multi times a week volunteer in our schools ever since. And so I really have appreciated all of the teachers, administrators, and parents that I've gotten to know, and all the great conversations we've had about what they want for their kids in schools. I've represented the Lone Peak area before in multiple different ways. I've served on the community council at multiple schools, as well as on PTA boards at multiple schools. And so I really have a good idea of our community, and I've talked to a lot of people about what they would like, and I'd like to continue doing that.
Thank you so much, Amber. Our final question is a long one. Well, it's actually our 7th question. How should the future school board evaluate a business administrator's ability to manage district finances responsibly, ensure accountability and transparency in their work, and support effective collaboration between the business administrator, board, and superintendent to advance district goals? We will start with Wendi.
So I think it's really important for school board members to be in communication with the business administrator a lot and make sure that they understand the budget. If they have questions, make sure that they can explain it well in their own words so that they can explain the budget and any questions people have to their constituents, whether in person or through their social media. I also think it's important for the business administrator to present at school board meetings frequently so that the public can see what's going on with the budget, hear it from his or her own mouth about what's going on with the budget, learn about property taxes, increments, changes to the budget, changes to taxes. So those are some of the ways that I think it's really important just for the school board to communicate with the business administrator, and then also have the business administrator present frequently at the school board meetings so the public has access to that information.
Awesome, thank you, Wendi. Next, we will go to Amber. Would you like me to repeat this question?
So I actually, as a board member, loved our business administrator, was so grateful for everything that he did for us. I was able to ask him questions, gosh, almost daily, I felt like, because education funding in Utah is super complicated. It is not the same as it is in other states or in other types of schools. And there are lots of little details that make a huge difference to the budget. And so I feel like having a business administrator who is has not only significant business experience, but also really truly understands education finance in Utah is going to be really critical as we're setting up our new district. Our BAs do things like, they don't just do the budget, but they also do a lot of our data. So they help with our enrollment predictions, and they help with all of those kinds of things which are critical to know how to run our schools in the best way. So I'm really concerned about our BA, maybe even a little bit more than the superintendent, because I know we have a little bit shallower business leader pool in the district. And so that's actually a big concern to me and something I'll be very careful with.
Thank you, Amber. And finally, Nicole.
How will I ensure that the business administrator is held accountable and transparent about the budget? This is a big question and an important thing for the school board to ensure is happening. One of the things I've noticed over time is that many people feel like organizations aren't transparent when they don't really understand the transparency that is trying to be put forward. So budget reports are always accessible on the school district website. But I know that I myself get overwhelmed when looking at it because it's a lot of information, because school finances are extremely complicated. I think something that could be very helpful in transparency is making sure that the business administration and their department provides the public with accessible information, not just in how we access it, but making it user-friendly. So posting quick videos that explain budgetary decisions, briefs online that people can read, and not only posting those on the district website, but also engaging with the public through community entities like social media or town newsletters or the newspaper.
Thank you, Nicole, and thank you to all of our candidates for answering our questions. We would now like to move on to our closing section. We will start with Wendi.
So,
Excuse me, you have 2 minutes.
okay, thank you. So I am so passionate about public education. I've advocated for public education throughout my whole adult life, whether as a teacher, through charter schools, and then here with the neighborhood schools. I care a lot about student achievement and making sure the needs of students are met. I've been a substitute teacher this past year, and it's added to my knowledge about education and what things are like for teachers in the classroom. And that also has helped me to advocate for teachers in the classroom, to see what it's like for them, to see what's frustrating for them, to see what's hard. And I just really want to make sure we're taking good care of them, because teachers are the lifeblood of the school. If they're not taken care of, then the student achievement is not happening at the levels it could be. The teachers are really where the rubber meets the road. And so we need to take good care of them, provide them with resources, and we need to support them as a community and as a school board. And I commit to doing that. I also commit to listening to the other school board members, to working well with them, to trying to see their perspective, to working with the different districts to divide up assets. You can talk to people who know me well, and they'll tell you that I work well with people, I listen, and I'm a good collaborator, and I'm also a good problem solver. I look at different options and ways that we can communicate and solve problems. On the PTA board, when I was on the governing board, I also helped to advocate for teachers when I was on the governing board in our charter school in Colorado. We didn't have a pay scale for teachers. They just kind of got paid what they were paid until they got a raise. And so I advocated that we set up a pay scale like what other school districts have at the charter school, because I didn't think what we were doing was right for our teachers. So I worked on that really hard, and so I will support students and teachers, and I will listen to you as a school board member and take your input into my decisions.
Thank you, Wendi. Next, we will move to Nicole.
A question that I often get asked is, why now? Why are you running for the school board? When I was younger and first started teaching, I didn't have much money, so I had a roommate. And the two of us were sitting there talking one day about something the Secretary of Education had done that we were angry about. 20 years later, I couldn't tell you what that was, but at that time, we decided that one day we would do something to be one of the people that make some of those decisions. And then we completely forgot about it. This year, after the election happened, my students in my pre-service teacher program came to class and they were like, what is happening? Please help us understand. And so we talked about the very basics of the situation, that Alpine School District was split into 3, and there would be 3 new school districts. And so they asked, well, what's the next step? And I mentioned that the next step would be to elect a school board. And somebody jokingly said, you know what? Don't you live in one of those school districts? You should run for the school board. And I was like, no, I will not be doing that. And then I mentioned it to a few colleagues and thought about that promise I made myself one day. That's not to say that I don't think Amber and Wendi would be excellent school board members. I do. I would feel comfortable in either of their hands. But I thought at this critical time in education, with the introduction of AI and also a brand new school district with a world of opportunity, that I would lend my expertise and education to my community to help us shape a new school district and start something amazing.
Awesome. And finally, on to Amber.
Okay, so as we enter into this new school district formation phase, I really think there's some exciting possibilities ahead of us. All of us are needed to be a part of this, and our community will be able to look into all the different aspects of our district schools and decide where we feel like we're doing the absolute best we can and where there are other areas that we could improve in. Even though Alpine has been an amazing district and has really given us a strong foundation, there are always ways to improve. And I think that we have the opportunity now to look at what's most important to our students, our teachers, and our community, and build something that can address those unique needs. To do this, we need board members who have a proven record of communicating, listening, and working hard for us. We need people who do not have to learn state law, who don't have to learn district policy, who don't have to learn about finances in the district. As a candidate, I'm already well versed in all of these things and can hit the ground running on day one. My extensive experience at the district and state level will give us a leg up as we hire a superintendent and other administrators. And also as we take a deep dive into our financial situation and our testing, is like how our kids are doing, all of those situations. I'm the mother of 7 children and they're all very different. I think I thought that you got this kind, and then when I got number 2, I thought, oh, you get this kind and this kind, and then I got number 3 and there was a whole other kind. And that just kept going for 7 kids. And each of our children, each of our teachers are very, very different. I really believe that decisions should be made for education as locally as possible. If the teacher can make the decision, they should be the one making it. If it can be made at the school, that's where it should be made. And I think that that's the best way to address the unique needs of each of our students and each of our teachers and each of our schools. So we have amazing students, we have incredible teachers, and we have a strong, very supportive community. These ingredients will combine to make us one of the best school districts in the nation.
All right. Let's give a huge thank you to the candidates for participating. Good luck to all of the voters in deciding who to vote for. Reminder, after this panel concludes, you will be able to mingle with these candidates and visit their tables behind you. Remember, ballots need to be turned in by August 12th at 8 p.m. The closest ballot boxes are at the Alpine, Cedar Hills, and Highland City offices, and the Highland City offices will also be a voting center on Election Day from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Everyone travel home safely.